UVVTV. You know what it is.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
From the pit to the checkered flag,
Caution is out.
you're hitting the wall with Eddie Clark's NASCAR Minute.
Hi, I'm Eddie Clark, and I'm just another NASCAR fan. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to Eddie Clark's NASCAR Minute. You know, last week, I ran all this stuff down to you guys about the beginning of the season. I told you how I felt about a couple of things, and you guys hit me back with a couple of responses. And, you know, like I said, man, all I do is lay down the truth, the way it is in the sport. Like I said, it's the last great sport in America. It's the only sport where race, religion, gender don't mean squat. If you can do the job, you get the job. If you don't, you don't. Which is why I jumped on Bubba Wallace the way I did. Love Bubba Wallace, give him all the respect in the world. But you know what? Bubba Wallace, as I told you guys last week, he works for Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan doesn't write checks for losers. If you want your kids to get into a sport, I would strongly suggest NASCAR. It gives them character. It gives them something to fight for. It gives them something to actually work towards. And if you work hard enough, you can get it. Which brings us to our first guest. Hey, let me tell you something. This guy is one of those guys that has started from the bottom, worked his way up, and folks, he's doing it. But I'm gonna let you tell the story. Please welcome a man, Justin Clapper. Hey, Justin, how you doing, man?
Great, Eddie. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Check it out. Before we get started, tell everybody a little about yourself, and where you're from, and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. So originally from Manahawkin, New Jersey, now living in Mooresville, North Carolina. I started out in this sport in the ARCA series, doing some volunteer stuff. I worked for Goodyear for about 6 years, and then really took off with the pitting side. I knew that was my passion. Went to NASCAR Tech and graduated from there. Hopped over to pit instruction and training, and just kind of did all it took to network, man, and work my way up. And I've pit from everything from really all four, I guess, technically, of the touring series, which has led to a cup win. I've had 7 truck wins now, a truck championship last year with Zane Smith, and full-time with Xfinity Series this year with Jordan Anderson Racing and some other stuff. So it's been a long, fun roller coaster ride, but we're still digging. And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's absolutely cool, man. You know, one of the things when I was checking out some people, I was talking about your story, man, is how, like, when you came into this, man, I mean, you actually went to school for this. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's a branch of Universal Technical Institute, NASCAR Technical Institute in Mooresville, North Carolina. They're a good groundwork school. I mean, a lot of their core teachings is your basic automotive stuff. It's an elective, the NASCAR side of things. But just being around that atmosphere with a lot of the instructors being guys that were in the sport for years. I mean, some guys have up to 30, 40 years experience in the industry. You learn a lot. You learn how to network, who to talk to, and that kind of stuff, which for me, the one class that really drew my attention the most was the pit crew. A 3-week, everything's a 3-week course, whether it be fabrication, engines, could be, when pit is one of them. And I just had a total blast. I have that competitive spirit in me, and I could just be able to put that athletic side and that spirit into also a bit of a mechanical side of things as well with my favorite sport of NASCAR. Putting it all together was really, really cool, which I just asked a million questions to see where I needed to go, and still to this day asking away as much as I can.
Let me ask you, now you've obviously gone to school, you've been around through the different levels of NASCAR, and you had the opportunity to work many different aspects of it. There's a couple I want to talk to you about that people think it's easy. Number one, tire changer, the guy that actually gets in there. We've seen guys they grab the they go up those lugs. It's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, it looks easy. Can you explain to people exactly what the difficulties are behind that?
I'll tell you this, and this goes for any pit position across the board. It is way more mental than it is physical. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to have the physical parts to it, but it's I compare it to dancing a lot. And I get, a lot of people kind of chuckle when I say that, but it's a choreograph. And when you get down to it, every motion, there's a time to go fast. There's a time to go slow, especially with tire changing. And I'm sure you've talked about it on this show. I would assume of the loose wheel scenarios that have been going on and stuff like that. And that's why you're seeing that on the Cup side is a lot of these guys with the single lug being so new that we're still learning when to be fast and when to slow down. And it's just trying to find that perfect center point of when to go hard and get after it and when to just kind of be focused on the movement. And you're seeing a lot of guys really pushing that limit. Joe Gibbs being probably, in my opinion, number one when it comes to pushing that limit right now. I mean, they're the only ones running that new choreograph. But unfortunately, as you saw on the 19 car this weekend, that limit can be pushed. But when they're on it, they are on it. And those are the guys. But when it comes at a difficulty level, you would never see – you ever see a gun in my hand and you're a driver, you might as well put that thing in the garage. That is not for me. But, man, these guys are laser focused on it, and they work their tails off to just be precise. And the single lug stuff, a lot of it's just being on the point. But when it comes to 5-lug, truck Xfinity, it's mistakes, man. I mean, it's the least amount of mistakes. It's almost like a football game. Team that makes the least amount of mistakes is going to be the team on top at the end. And it's a mental focus of making sure you're square on those nuts every time, no angle. And a lot of things that don't get talked about is the factors you have of brake heat, brake dust, camber. You see a lot of changers struggle on left fronts because not only are they having to hit square on a nut, but you got to hit almost at an upward angle as well. And it's a lot of things that I wish TV would cover that more. I really think that that's something that fans would be attracted to if TV would break pit stops down a little more and show just how difficult this position and these jobs are.
One of the things you mentioned, Coach Gibbs, you talk about the precision with his team. We also could talk about the same Coach Gibbs that ran the Washington Redskins, the same Coach Gibbs that won the Super Bowl with no excuses. Talk about a team that actually ran like a clock. So when he went into NASCAR, I don't think it really surprised anybody that his crew, his teams, and his pit crews worked with precision they did. With that in mind, I ask you, and I'm going to go around to a couple of different things. Something as simple as the window tear. Now, you watch a car pull into the pits. Guy's doing a whole bunch of things. The guy comes over with the cup. Hands over the cup, the driver's having his drink, whatever. The guy,
driver service would be the technical name of that position.
He goes, yeah, thank you. And he reaches over, window tear. That's an easy job, isn't it?
Well, here's the thing. That's not the only job that individual has. So it's funny you actually bring that up because my roommate is actually the driver service man for our team. But he's also the tire specialist and he works in the shop as well. These guys have other jobs. Now, on race day, when it comes down to the pit stop, they're usually one guy assigned to that specific job. But that's not all that those guys do. Is it a lot easier than what we do over the wall? Yeah, but don't tell him I said that. But yeah, it's I would say that. And honestly, nowadays, man, with the rule change of gas men not being able to do anything but fuel, those guys got it made, man.
Well, the thing about it is I understand actually at the Hall of Fame, they also had you could have a chance. It wasn't free, but you had a chance to actually lift the gas can, and those things aren't light, man.
No.
Which
do they have the weight accurate fuel can there?
Yeah, it was a full can, and I'm 6'1", 275 pounds, and I'm in reasonably good shape. And back when the Hall of Fame opened, I was in real damn good shape. I weighed somewhere around 240, and it was pretty. That thing was not easy. I mean, the idea of lifting play, and we didn't have to do that. It was all, if you go to the Hall of Fame, it's all supported. But I'm just imagining what it's like. I know what it felt like for me just to lift it.
Yeah.
To lift it on your own, freestyle, get it in the nozzle. And I'm watching. These guys are pulling out, and this dude takes a half a step to the front of the car and pulls out at exactly the right moment.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if he doesn't, we've saw the results of what happened with a few teams in the past where they don't get it off on time, which brings me to that brings me to this question. Do you have to be in shape to work in a pit crew?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's different, you'll hear a lot of guys joke around. You know, a lot of the old heads might say they don't because they've had, some guys just have it, man. Some guys are just naturals and they can throw down a pitcher of beer during the week or something, you know, and be able to go over the wall and do it. But honestly, it's and fueling, you know, yes, I said earlier they haven't made it. It's a lot easier now than it used to be. Fueling was one of the first positions over the wall that I ever did. But that was back when we were allowed to pull tires. We used to do left rear adjustments. There was a lot more to it. But now I would even say it's more intense with the single lug because everything is so much faster that those guys on the pitting side, if you get real technical with it, within guys on pit road, they call things like a negative plug is what we would call it. Where basically these guys are trying to plug this can in before the car even stops. And problem you could have if you don't fine tune your heads on the fuel can side, you know, your car side, you know, check the rings, proper lubrication, all those fine details. I believe it was a 20 car, correct me if I'm wrong, this weekend in the Xfinity series that actually had a fuel head stuck open. And that can happen. It happened to us last year at Daytona, where, you know, fuel can get stuck open, could get stuck engaged, and then the car takes off down pit road. So it's a lot of that precision of being perfectly squared up on it. You know, so it does take a lot of practice. You know, I can't just see somebody, you know, perfect example, you know, a guy your size would be the perfect image of what a lot of people would imagine a fuel man could be, or jack man, or someone that, you know, of that position. But that doesn't mean that we can just take you from the grandstands and throw you in. You know, there's a lot of technical stuff that these guys do, and it's really incredible to watch. You know, when you watch the movement, the way they throw the can, you know, and the rules of, you know, you can't throw it over the wall a certain time, and how, you know, the timing of exchanging and different audibles depending on if it's two cans, one can, how much fuel. You know, there's almost an engineering mind that they need to have for at the top level, because they're weighing the cans, they're letting the crew chief know. So there's, you know, that's where I go back to what I said at the start of the show. Of it's so much mental of making sure, you know, rather than just, you know, hey man, we're coming down pit road, plug this can in. Like, they got to know how much fuel I need, how many seconds is it going to be. I need to pull the first can before the changer's up. You know, there's so much to such a simple position that, you know, it goes to what I keep saying. I really wish TV would acknowledge this, because it's a huge part of sport, and it's really a big part of race day that goes unnoticed.
Yeah, I know. Just so happens, if all you folks watching, I told you I will be at a few races this year, and it's amazing. I still have my pit pass. I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. My media pass. I can't believe I still have that. But there will be. That's one of the things that we definitely intend on getting into a little bit more and showing people a little bit more what it takes to actually work on a pit crew. With that in mind, there's one thing, and we talked about it before the show started. There is one thing that everyone thinks is the easiest position if you're on a pit crew, and that's the jack. Two questions. First of all, is it easy? And second of all, I guess there's only one type of jack they use, huh?
Simple answer, no, it is not easy. And when it comes to the jacks, there's a few different manufacturers throughout the sport that make a race style jack. Now, is it a separate, you know, it's not going to be the same type of jack that you would use in a shop on your car to change your tires, you know, at a Jiffy Lube or something like that. And even these race shops use totally separate jacks when they're working on the cars in the shop. These are race specific jacks And some teams make their own. Some teams, Brunholzl's a really popular company. Pit Boss is another one. Hellraiser Jacks has made a few race jacks as well. Representing. But yeah, it's just and then some teams, without giving out too much information, that'll get me in trouble. Of teams that make their own and have different components and stuff like that to work on higher lifts, springs that keep the hand, because when you get down to the bottom of the stroke, my personal jack, when I let go, I had a spring that brings that handle right back up so the handle doesn't get stuck down. A lot of the different stuff, heights of the plates, with the ride height rule being different now, you got low profile, jacks, so it could be, almost like this thin, from the roller to the top of the plate. And then you see some other one, I know Joe Gibbs has shown a lot of videos of their Jackman on Instagram and stuff like that. And you can see the back plate on the back of the plate. So it's almost like a backboard of a basketball net. And what it helps those guys in the Cup Series do is just throw that thing in until it stops and then peg it. And the engineering around that. So NASCAR took that away from the pit gun side with everybody running Paoli's now in Xfinity and Cup. The jack is still a component or a piece of equipment that teams can tamper with as much as they want. There's really no limitation on how far you can go with that.
I have it's funny you should mention it because I have a floor jack in my house. If I take my Corvette and I'm jacking it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I watch you guys. I like to know where I get one of those jacks. Turn, pop, cars up.
Yeah.
What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, I mean they're built to be one pump jacks. I mean, you do what's called pegging the plate onto the side of the car. So when the car stops, I mean, you try to get that plate under the jack plate, and you'll see the cutouts on the side skirts and arrows on it. I actually see one on the graphic of that 88 car behind you. So what that tape mark on the side of the car is that's for Jackman's eye. As soon as he jumps off the wall, he's looking at the right front, and once that car starts to clear, he's staring right at that jack peg and bringing the handle to it. And you peg it to set the plate on there, and then it's just one pump is all you should need as long as the car is set up properly. Sometimes you got a pump and a bump in there. Super speedway setups are a little different with shock rebounds and stuff like that. The droop might be different, how the chains are set. But yeah, man, I mean, they're built with some massive cylinders in there that just get these things up there, but it's really cool to see how these teams have built components around these cylinders that do that to make these things super light. I mean, throwing the number out there, I'd say the average jack weight, 30 to 40 pounds, maybe. Some, and I'm sure on the Cup end, a lot of these jacks are lighter than that. I mean, the handles are carbon fiber for a majority of pit road, titanium parts and stuff like that. So it's the engineering side of NASCAR pit jacks is, for me, it's really cool. I mean, I love seeing every year there's something new that we see that we're like, man, I want that. Where do I get that? But yeah, it's cool to see it every year changing and growing.
That's cool. Hey, guys, I want to let you know you're watching Eddie Clark's NASCAR Minute Plus on UVVTV. Our guest today is Justin Clapper, a young man that has worked his way up in the ranks, man, and this guy's doing it. And what we're going to do on the other side of the break, when we come back, I'm going to ask Justin, you ever wonder what hierarchy is on the pit side? We come back, we're going to ask Justin about that right after this.
She thought walking away was hard to do until walking away led to truth. Discovering a peace that was hovering, but never before allowed to enter her soul. She thought she'd grow old and even cold. If life continued on the trajectory it was headed, complacency seemed inevitable. Until she took a look at herself and said, I'm betting on you. exploring new worlds and new views, different energies and attitudes. Allowing her heart to be open, it became consumed by what could be described as a fantasy, far from tragedy, no. A dream that if told in a story would seem too good to be true. Taking the form of perfection, physical frequencies felt through erections, emotional energies flowing like oceans. Ocean brings forth life anew, birthing art inspired by Mahogany's muse.
Yeah, we're back, and we'll let you know that, of course, UVVTV supports Black business. That means keeping business in the black. If you got a business that you want to advertise on UVVTV and you want to keep that business in the black, make sure you get in touch with us. You know how to do it at UVVTV at Gmail. It's free of charge. All we want you to do is just pass on the good fortune to somebody else and take care of your customers. But one of those people you just got finished seeing, Just the Verse, and her book, Mahogany's Muse. Check it out. It's available on Amazon and at melanatorverses.com. So don't forget to check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, of course, and it's still Eddie Clark's NASCAR Minute. Want to let you folks know real quick before you go on, UVVTV has the lineup on Monday. We've got the rewind of all our favorite shows during the week. Tuesday, and your point is, remember, it's a debate, not an argument. Wednesday, 8 o'clock, we got Unvaccinated Voices. 8 o'clock, it's just a conversation with Just the Verse and her crew. And then premiering Friday on March 3rd, 2023, the Hintons. John C. Hinton, man, him and his wife go crack it. Y'all going to enjoy that. And then on Saturday noon, Eddie Clark's NASCAR Minute Plus, which you're watching right now. And then on Sunday noon, also Sunday Jazz Brunch. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Of course, during the week, Eddie Clark's NASCAR Minute. And, you know, at that point, I'm talking about what I want to talk about. And it's about NASCAR. And you know that's my favorite sport. And it's America's last great sport. And it's all about NASCAR with me. So let's get back to our guests. All right. My man, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Clapper is with us. Justin Clapper is with us. And like I said, this brother's been through all the ranks. He has done it all. You know, and we're going to talk to him a little bit. Justin, let me ask you. There's a hierarchy for everything. All right. In the pits, what is the actual hierarchy? How do you start and what do you work your way up to? Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a tough way to kind of label things. I mean, at the end of the day, when you kind of look at it from an easy standpoint, kind of look at things, you know, your top position when it comes to behind the wall, top of the box, you got your crew chief, then your car chief, your engineer, mechanics, tire guys, you know, then you have pit crews, kind of a separate thing. But I'd say a lot of guys, you know, when they start out, some just jump right to the position on the pitting side that they feel fit for. I know you hear a lot that a jackman is the quarterback of the crew. In some cases, with different teams operate in different ways. The group I'm with currently, we're really, really big on working together where we don't really have a leader. We kind of all do things together. Nobody really tells anybody what to do in any way. You know, it's kind of just, hey, you know what you need to do, so let's just go out there and do it. Now, when it comes to calling things, stuff like that, you know, a lot of times when we hear it over the radio, you know, me as a jackman this year, it's my responsibility to kind of be that leader, you know, to kind of, you know, say, okay, you know, say we throwing a, you know, a call out there, you know, crew chief says, all right, boys, we're going to pit this time, 4 tires, 2 out of track bar, 1 out of left rear. You know, so I got to sit there and be like, you know, tell them 4 tires, you know, hey, you got 2 down track bar. I got 1 out, you know, you got the jack, you know, saying, letting guys know what to call, you know, the different audible. And that side, you kind of have your levels of, you know, who's over who. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, for me personally and our group this year, we've kind of stepped away from that of having anybody hiring somebody else. You know, we like to look at things from a team standpoint where we're all in this together. You know, end of the day, we win, we lose as a team.
So I guess when the car chief decides to get in somebody's ass, he just jumps on everybody.
Yeah, and that's kind of thing too. It's like, yeah, you have that. I've made my fair share of mistakes. I made one this weekend. I'll go out there and say it. Jumped early, happens. It's just a fortunate situation sometimes. I know my mistakes. We all watch film, we all analyze it, and we go. Nobody gets mad at each other, stuff like that, because that breaks that team mold apart. So you just gotta kind of keep looking out the windshield, man. Put it all in the rear view, I say every team operates differently when it comes to that kind of stuff.
There's one other position I totally forgot about, until I forgot I have I actually have an email here. Somebody actually hit me up with this, and I don't know if you've ever done this before, and I've actually wanted to ask this question to somebody that actually works on the track. Have you ever been a spotter?
No. Well, besides iRacing, no.
What exactly does a spotter do?
So a spotter's job is pretty much you're the eye in the sky. You're essentially, it's in some cases, some track, like definitely super speedways, these guys are almost driving the cars with their voice. Everything they're telling the driver, but each driver likes to be spoken to differently. But you're the guy with all the information from above. You're seeing what the leaders are doing, what the guys behind are doing. Nowadays they have little tablets with like SMT data. They can look at lap times. They can look at telemetry. They're getting a lot of the same information that the crew chief's getting on the box, so they can tell the driver what's going on around them. If they see an incident, they got to tell the driver where to go, because what a lot of people don't know is these drivers, their visual in the cars is extremely impaired. And these next gens, I've sat in one, and man, you barely see out the windshield. You're completely blocked off from your left and your right. You have your cameras for your rear view and your rear view.
I saw that.
mirror.
Yeah.
But out the windshield, it's so tough to see, man. And you just got to hit your marks every time, and trust your spotter. If he tells you to go high, go low, whatever, so a lot of these drivers, you see that they're with the same guy because for a long period of time, because they have that trust factor. And because a spotter can win, lose your race easy. If he tells you to go to a certain lane and it ends up being the wrong time, it can cost you the race. We've seen many spotters come and go in the sport because of that. But yeah, man, the best ones, I promise you, they're making the good money, because that position is extremely important.
And one of the things I've noticed, and I could say everybody knows, just watch this show. I ride with 5. I'm a Kyle Larson guy. It's never going to change. A lot of people thought that I'm probably going to dump him after what happened a couple of years ago during the pandemic. I don't want to hear that. That's the point that I was trying to make about spotters too. Your spotter is your boy. You know what I'm saying? That's almost like a marriage. You know what I'm saying? That's why when and I don't want to get too crazy about this. I'm not going to get deep into it, but I'm just saying that's why you people that are fans, you know what I'm talking about. That's why when he said what he said, that's why I responded the way I responded. Because when you're talking to your boys, you can say almost anything. You're talking to your boys. And that's how tight your spotter has to be. Am I wrong about that, Justin? As far as how tight?
I'd say the best combinations, absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you look at guys that have been together forever, you look at, Jimmy Johnson and Eddie for all those years. You want to talk about a strong combination. And they know their lingo. They know, the tone. A lot of it's tone of voice. If you're used to a certain tone of voice in your ear, and you got a guy that might be real calm on the radio, doesn't really say a whole lot, then you go to a guy that's very high pace, high energy, that could throw your game off behind the wheel. So I completely agree. And I think that's why a guy like Kyle Larson was using him on iRacing as well, because the more you have that in your ear, the more familiar, the more you become boys, like you say, and it's, you go out there and it flows. And that's the biggest thing.
That's your boy, man. That's why. I tell you, it must have been all right, because the fact of the matter is, my man went over, and last year, guess who took the crown? Thank you. Right? You should see me dancing.
So what's crazy is the spotter he had wasn't even originally supposed to be his spotter that year.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so to see him and Tyler Mond take off the way they did was incredible. I mean, I think Tyler Mond is, in my opinion, that dude is not going anywhere anytime soon after that.
He shouldn't. He shouldn't. I tell you that one thing about it is when you're going, and this is what I've often said about NASCAR, any kind of racing, actually, man, when you're going at those speeds, and you got to remember, these cars can take a hit. Yeah, they got safer barrels, whatever, safer barriers and everything else, and they got this protection and this and that. But you got to remember, despite the safety of those cars, even back early as 2000, we still lost Dale. So, I mean, these things happen. So you have to, the safety, the total trust is what it's all about. It has to be about total trust. And I know what you guys, and I know, and I got to figure with the drivers that pick crew, you guys have to be crews. Y'all have to be boys to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the guy handing them a cup over the wall, or I don't care if it's the guy filling tank, or the guy just checking the, put a little wedge or take a little wedge out of the car. It doesn't matter. They have to be crews. You have to believe 100% that your crew knows exactly what they're doing, so you can concentrate on nothing but driving. And that's why I still believe Kevin Harvick is going to make it to the chase this year. By the way, I'm making that call nice and early. That's right. Take that, folks. Nice and early, I'm making that call. Harvick's going to make the chase. Remember, you heard it here first. All right. I'll tell you. Justin, let me ask you, what is your eventual goal in the sport? You've worked your way around. You've seen everything. What's your eventual goal?
Make money. All jokes aside, I mean, I've done a lot of cool stuff in the sport. I got I said earlier, I got 7 truck wins, 2 regular season championships. I won a truck championship last year, several ARCA wins, a cup win in the Brickyard with AJ Allmendinger. Really wanting an Xfinity win. It's the only series I haven't won in, but at the end of the day, man, it's just I want to be a part of a team where, right back to the conversation we just had of having that brotherhood and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, can I make a living doing this and really, really enjoy doing it? And that's the biggest thing. I've done a lot of cool stuff, but there's been some drama involved and, ups and downs of the sport and stuff like that. So, so I think security at the highest level with the right group of guys is really the goal. But, the company that I work with during the week, Champion Tire and Wheel, we were given the opportunity to go to JTG today and take pictures with the Daytona 500 trophy, since we help supply the tires and stuff for their setup and their tests and stuff like that. So their tire guy invited us out there and looking at that trophy today. And, one of my best friends was part of that team and a couple buddies of mine that seeing that, it's kind of puts that fire in there of like, there's still more to get, man. You gotta look out there of like, okay, how much more do I want to do? And I haven't done that yet. So, there's always that. There's always goals, man. I think, I love a cup championship one day. Adding that Xfinity win. So it's just keep pushing, but it's being in the right place with the right people and just really enjoy doing it. That's all I want to do, is be a part of the sport and really enjoy what I'm doing within it.
You had a chance to win at the Brickyard, man. You got to kiss the bricks. You know how many people would like that, love that opportunity one time? I can't even get on that
Looking
track.
at the ring right now.
I'd like to go out there, just kiss those bricks, just with nobody around. I wouldn't need anybody to see it. Just if no pictures, nothing, just me know I did it. The other thing is, it's really funny though. A lot of people kind of guessed that Michael Jordan would be the first black owner to win Daytona, and Daugherty beat him to it. A Cleveland Cavalier. That's kind of hardcore Chicago Bullet.
Man, what's crazy is people say that's hard to believe, but I mean, do they seem to forget how stout that team has been at Daytona over the last several years? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think Ricky was on the pole or front row race in the last few years. Yep. And that team is, when it comes to these super speedways, that 47 car, no matter who was driving it, when AJ was driving it, when Ambrose was driving it, they were really, really stout at the bigger tracks, and they got that engine package with the rest of the Chevrolets, and those ECR motors are stout. And
I think it's amazing how Ford's, especially I was watching this year. I was like, oh my God, looks like Ford's got it all. They're just going crazy. And you watch the first race stage, second stage. I'm like, oh my God, it's going on. Then all of a sudden at the end of the race, you look and it's like 5 Chevys in a row. Where the hell did that come from? That came out of nowhere.
That's Daytona, man. The right place at the right time. It's crazy.
I mean, and Ford was first two stages. They had it going on, man. So
yeah.
It's crazy. Let me ask you. I'm gonna get you out of here. I just want to hit you on this. Tell me, first of all, I'll ask you this first. What is your favorite track to work at, even if it's not Monster Cup? What's your favorite track to work at?
Man, I get asked this a lot, and it's funny because I always seem to have a different answer every time. But I think it's because certain tracks are favorites for different reasons. I would say I got 2 favorite tracks to pit at, and that's probably Martinsville and Bristol.
Okay.
There's something about the atmosphere. Now, Martinsville's upsetting me a little bit when they start taking away the night races after they finally gave it to us after all this time. But I'll tell you right now, the truck race last year, under the lights, there was just an atmosphere unlike anything else. But Daytona is up there as a favorite. But man, I'd say favorite track is I'd probably have to give it to Bristol when it comes to pitting at. There's just something about it. It feels like a movie set every time. The crowd's always energetic. It doesn't matter whether there's 50,000 or 150,000. I swear they're just as loud.
Yeah, you agree. You and I agree on Thunder Valley. I often have said, and these fans have heard me say many times before, the season does not get started until you hit short track, and you don't hit short track until you hit Bristol. When you go to Bristol, now the season started. Now we find out who's who. We get rid of the pretenders, and only the contenders step up. You know what I'm saying? That's my absolute favorite track to watch a race on. And I tried to stand up one time, and I was one of those people that looked like a total idiot because you cannot stand up in them corners. It's impossible. you can lay that corner and try to keep yourself from sliding down. If you're in turn 1, 2, 3, or 4, I'm telling you right now, man, this is all you're gonna do all the way down.
Oh, yeah,
but the track that has my heart, because also has my football team and also has my family out there in Dothan, Alabama, is Talladega. I'm a big Talladega guy. You know what I'm saying? You went to Talladega, you get my love, but you went to Bristol, man. You 100%.
Yeah. Talladega is one of my favorites too, but I don't think I can say on this podcast why. we'll talk about that off camera.
I'm not gonna push that. I'm not gonna push that at all. Matter of fact, I'll end the recording, then we can talk about that. Let me get you out of here on this. All right. You worked your way through everything. You've seen a lot. You've had drivers that you see the guys at all the stages of driving. And this is not. I'm not asking you to pick. I'm actually asking, in the history of NASCAR, with your knowledge of drivers and stuff, who is the driver you admire the most?
Ooh. I will say this. I would never be where I'm at today without Martin Truex Jr.
Okay.
That's just what it is. I was a big Monster Jam kid growing up, and it was, a family. My family knew his family really well. I went to school with Ryan Truex. We went to high school together. I'm really good friends with his cousin Tyler, and I just kind of got involved with them. Started watching the sport. Became the biggest Truex fan you've ever met for the longest time, until I got into the industry here. And man, you talk about a guy that I truly admire. It's your boy too, man, Kyle Larson. I gotta say, I remember being at Rev Racing one day, and they told me, "Hey, we got the next best thing coming. This dude's coming from dirt. We're gonna put him behind the wheel." And I never heard his name. I didn't even know who he was. I said,
I knew
okay. He shook my hand. I said, cool, man. You know, and then I'll never forget. He went out, won the K&N championship that year. Put him in a truck, leading laps with the black race truck, nothing on it, no sponsors. It's just a number on the side. The performance he did at Turner Scott, and then what he's done for Ganassi and now at Hendrick. I mean, come on, man. You put this guy in a dirt late model for the first time ever, and he laps everyone but second place in the World of Outlaws, embarrasses the best in the world. You can't. How do you not admire that?
I would love to see him and Tony Stewart on dirt in a match race.
Man.
I'd love to see that because I think he give Tony all he can handle and change.
Absolutely.
I really do.
I love it. SRX on dirt. Put them both out there.
This kid is one of the most amazing, and you're right about something because I met him once. He's the nicest kid I've ever met in my life.
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
Like I said, that's why when all that, that's why when all that nonsense happened, I was probably one of the first people. I knew I was one of the first black people to definitely get on air and make it because I have like 5,000-6,000 followers on my Facebook alone, and I made it a point. From the second I heard it, with no proof and nothing. Second I heard, I said, nope, wrong guy. I said, this guy, if there ever was a brother that didn't look like one, but he was a brother in his heart, it's Lawson. That's my man. I'm telling you, I love that kid. But my favorite driver of all time, of course, the first driver I ever enjoyed back in the 60s when I was a kid. And I loved him not because I knew anything about NASCAR, because I loved his name, Cale Yarborough. I got to meet Cale Yarborough a couple years ago. Greatest guy in the world. Went to his dealership down in South Carolina. All right. And I bought my bet. I wasn't planning on buying a car. Just so I could tell everybody, all right, Cale Yarborough.
Yeah.
That was really cool, man. But I got to tell you, Justin, this has been like a hell of a ride, man. And I really appreciate you taking the time with us. And as you guys can see, we've got his information. You can follow him on Facebook, follow him on Instagram. We'll have all that information up on the page. Make sure you support UVVTV. Remember, UVVTV, you know what it is. And we're out here. We got all the different shows coming up. But if you're a NASCAR fan, we're going to try to keep giving you everybody we can. And like I said, anybody can get you all the big drivers or the big people. We're getting the people that's up and coming, the guys you're going to know. So when you look at TV and you see him out there, you're going to go, hey, wait a minute. That's Justin Clapper. Isn't he out there? He's at Daytona lifting the trophy with these guys. That's going to be really cool. And, dude, we're going to follow your career, and we're going to check you out. Thanks a lot for joining us. I'm Eddie Clark. Hope you guys had a good time. I hope you learned something. Remember, guys, NASCAR, the last great American sport. You want a chance to do something? Teach your kids something? Teach them NASCAR. I'm Eddie Clark, and I'm just another NASCAR fan. Good night, everybody.
How about a big hand now? Hey, y'all.
And if you don't know, now you know. UVVTV, you know what it is.